Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Well, it's the end of the month and that means that we get to look at our performance to see what you could potentially make if you were driving for yourself in February of 2023. Now, if you're new to my channel, welcome. I teach about the trucking industry with a heavy focus on the spot market as well as freight market analysis. So if this is a topic that interests you, feel free to subscribe down below. So this month, as you probably all know, has been the most challenging month since this whole market crash happened. And throughout the video, as well as towards the end of the video, I will share my experience with the market in February of 2023. Now let's go ahead and look at some numbers. Ready? Let's go. Now, before we actually go to the board, I have a couple of disclaimers. Number one, both of the dry vans mentioned in this video are operated by my business partners. Number two, the reefer I'm showing you is operated by one of our team members, a company driver. Now, you will not see any payroll related information in the numbers, and this is because my business partners, they do owner draws. So to even the playing field, I have removed any payroll numbers from the reefer as well. After all, the point of this video is to show you what you would be able to make if you were driving for yourself. All right, so here we go. We have dry van number one, dry van number two, and our reefer that's operated by one of our team members. The dry vans, again, are operated by my business partners. So gross income, we can see that both dry vans made more in gross than the reefer, especially dry van one. Now, in terms of the deadhead miles, the best deadhead miles were for the reefer, the least. The worst were for dry van two. Then we have the loaded miles. Yes, it's 15,000 total miles for this dry van, but this includes the load that delivers on the 6th of March. So in terms of rate per mile, 30,000 gross for this dry van, but the average rate per mile was $1.98. Here, $23,740, but the average was $2.20 for this dry van. And for the reefer, it was $2.06. Now, I will compare these two later on in the video so that you can see why there is such a difference. Okay, on to expenses. So just so you guys know, dry van 2 and the reefer are under our original company. Dry van 1 is under our baby company, so that's why there is a difference in insurance and the ELD as well as the load board. For dry van 1, we have equipment payments, truck and trailer. Right, then we have the fuel. Insurance is really high. This will go lower. It includes the second truck that we actually just sold, and that will be credited back to us. But right now we're paying for 2 trucks, which is horrible. Then we had some maintenance expenses. Filings and taxes are the Oregon tax from last month, consumables, washes, there were no scales. The ELD, no load board expense. And this is because I canceled it for our baby company. I used to have 2 different load boards for both the companies so I could post trucks. Considering the fact that the market is such where posting a truck doesn't do much, I decided to get rid of this expense for our baby company for now and use my main load board that I used for the original company for the baby company as well. Dry van 2. Equipment payments, this is the trailer rental. We're renting that dry van. Then we have fuel, insurance, maintenance. There was some maintenance. I'll get into that in just a bit. Filings, taxes, consumables, so on and so forth. And then for the reefer. Now, this is actually not really correct. This $180 for the load board is actually divided between all of our trucks, but I decided just to compare them separately, if that makes sense. For the reefer, we have the equipment payments, fuel, insurance. We did have some maintenance here. No consumables, no washes. The scales, there were scales, but they're actually included in the fuel because my guys, they use the fuel card to pay for scales. So this fuel expense is not just fuel, it includes scales as well. So that's why we don't have anything here. ELD and load board. So now if we look, we see that dry van 1 under our baby company, the total expenses were $18,000 some dollars. For the dry van 2, $12,000. For the reefer, $12,000. Now let's look at the net income. For the baby company, $11,872 in net income. For the dry van 2, $11,440. $8,942, and for the reefer, $8,919. Yeah, with this reefer, it was a little bit of a problem, and I'll explain it later on. Now, in one of my videos this month, I promised you that I would show you a comparison between the two dry vans that are operated by my business partners. As you saw, one dry van grossed over $30,000, but the average rate per mile was less than $2, and the other one was almost at $24,000 gross, but the average rate per mile was $2.20. So why did that happen? Let's go back to the board. So I promised you guys a comparison, so here it is. First, we have dry van 1, and this is the one that grossed $30,000. This is our baby company dry van. And what you will see, we have the dates, the locations, which state to which state, the amount, deadhead miles, loaded miles, and total rate per mile. Let me make it a little bit smaller. So here we go. And what you're gonna see right away is that I messed up pretty much from the beginning of the month. I sent him from Texas to Utah, and it was all downhill from there. From there, I had to scramble to find loads. So then we have Utah to Maryland, then we have New Jersey to Utah again. It was a whole mess. And of course, the rate per mile suffered as well. As you can see, the moment, to Utah, it paid very well. But then from Utah, here we go, $1.88. Then we have from Utah to Florida. That was a fun one. I think I mentioned it in one of my videos. Then we have from Florida, actually from Georgia, where we had to do 482 miles deadhead to get out of Florida. That was not fun. And now the last one that I booked today is from California to Delaware for $1.85. And trust me, this was the best load on the market if you're looking to get out of California. So yeah, I mismanaged this dry van. Now, of course, the gross was more, and this is because longer loads pay more gross, but at the same time, the rate per mile suffers. Now, dry van number 2, less gross, but a ton of short loads here. And if you look at the rates per mile, they're pretty good for the most part. I did mess up in a couple of places. What killed our operations with this dry van is our truck. So if you look, for example, from Texas to Nebraska, $2.34, Nebraska, Oklahoma, $3.33, Oklahoma, Pennsylvania, we have Pennsylvania, Michigan. But if you run the short loads within the Midwest, $2.27, $2.57, $3.45. So it's pretty good. But the problem is that our truck broke down several times. So there were a couple of lost days. So for example, when we delivered this load on the 17th, you see that we booked the next one on the 20th. That's because our truck broke down and we couldn't fix it, and it was the weekend. And this happened a couple of times where I had to either book loads later on because we were trying to repair our truck during the daytime after unloading. And another thing I have to mention is that this old junker breaks down anytime it is in cold weather. So I had to modify the way I book my loads. And somewhere right here is when I stopped booking loads to places like Minnesota, Wisconsin, South Dakota, North Dakota was off limits. And this is because of weather, because I knew that even if I get my guy to that place, I will get a good rate, but the truck will probably break down and we're either going to lose a day, spend a ton of money on repairs, or both. So yeah, basically old trucks, it's a mess. So my experience this month. Well, with the dry vans, I already explained the whole picture. One of the dry vans was mismanaged by yours truly from the start of the month because I didn't want to take any hits on the rate per mile. And what ended up happening is I ended up taking a big hit at the end of the month when we averaged everything out. The other dry van was managed correctly from the get-go and pretty much throughout the entire month. But this truck really needs to be replaced. This is part of the reason we ordered 2 new Freightliners. As soon as that first one comes in July of this year, this old junker is out. For the reefers, weather has been a challenge to say the least. One of my guys got stuck on the I-80 for 3 days. And basically it's been really, really hard trying to get the miles to a good area and with a good rate per mile. To top it off, we have kept our guys away from the Pacific Northwest for most of the month because of the I-80, and finding those appropriate loads that meet every criteria I have to hit on the eastern part of the United States is never easy. So basically, February has been challenging to say the least, but I am so ready for March to hit. I'm ready for the warmer weather. I'm ready for those rates to start going up because of seasonality. Basically, I'm ready to start making more more money. I hope the market complies. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you gained some insight from this video, and I will see you in the next one.